Yeah, good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining another webinar. Uh, just to introduce myself, I'm Kishore Ramraju from Houston, Texas. Let me introduce our guest speakers today. It's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Rahul Reddy, who is founding partner of Reddy and Newman PC, who is also member of American Immigration Lawyers Association since 1995. He's practicing employment-based immigration since last 23 plus years. And Rahul, Emily, Rebecca, and team, they help all our group members in scheduling these daily free conference calls. Every day, nearly 30 to 40 members join those calls and get all the clarifications to their questions as part of these free conference calls. And also, Rahul and Emily also does this weekly immigration Q&A on Facebook and YouTube Live every Tuesday. Some of you might have attended. Some of our group members responded that they were not able to join yesterday, so I requested Rahul. And as usual, Rahul immediately accepted the request. Thanks, Rahul, again. And also let me introduce Rebecca. Rebecca represents clients in employment-based non-immigrant and immigrant visa cases. She got great experience and a great knowledgeable resource for complex business immigration matters. Her representation includes advising clients throughout the visa application process from initial filing, responding to various requests for evidence, and processing it overseas consulates. So once again, thanks Rahul and Rebecca for taking time to answer, to clarify all the questions. What is happening with this ban? Is this restriction? Is it true or is it a rumor? And also there are a lot of new changes coming up, all the delays, all the travel restrictions. So yeah, we'll start with Rahul and Rebecca explaining about the current situation, latest changes, and then we'll open it to the Q&A forum, where all the members can you can put your questions in the chat window, or you can use raise the hand option and I can unmute you and you can ask your questions to both Rahul and Rebecca. It's all over to you, Rahul and Rebecca.
Thank you, Kishore. It's very good to join the Houston DC friends, and Kishore is always a good host. Always brings in all the topics so that he keeps his audiences informed about the immigration and other topics that are relevant to the group. Rebecca, with the executive order that was tweeted on April 20th, and we did conducted a conference call in the midnight, me and Emily on April 20th, and we did have the YouTube session on April 21st. And then on May 26th also, we did presented it. In both of these sessions, we said very clearly, me and Emily, and you are part of us, we said very clearly that the Trump administration has the authority to temporarily ban certain non-immigrant visa people to come into the United States. If you would look into, there's already a temporary ban. With the executive order, what they did was that the temporary ban is only for people who have visited China, people who have visited Spain, Italy, and also England at this point of time. In April 21st, we said we projected that the Trump administration has the authority and may do it temporarily restricting people coming into the United States. Can you elaborate more? Is he going to do it? Is it done? Is he going to do it? Or what do you expect going forward on the non-immigrant visa people?
Right, so we did predict that it could be possible that the administration would expand the executive order that was signed in April. The one that was signed in April, as we've discussed before, is limited to people applying for immigrant visas, which are green cards at overseas consulates. So that's a pretty small number of people actually that applies to, mostly people applying through the family-based process. But so those are the only people right now, according to the executive order that is in effect, who are unable to apply for those visas or enter the US. That's separate from, of course, the people who cannot come into the US because of the presidential proclamations from March, which are related to the COVID spread for those certain countries. And the people who are just in effect unable to enter the country because of the closures of consulates all over the world right now. People cannot apply for the visa at consulates because they're closed due to health concerns. Besides that, It is possible that there could be another executive order signed, and there have been rumors kind of swirling ever since the first executive order came out that, is the president going to expand the ban to non-immigrant visa holders or non-immigrant visa applicants? And according to the authority that the administration, that the president has under Section 212F of the Immigration and Nationality Act, it does appear he has the authority to do so, to apply a similar ban to non-immigrant visas, similar to the kind that is in effect now for immigrant visas. Having said that, that is limited for the most part to people who are currently outside the US, people who are not in the US right now. So it doesn't affect anyone who is in the US right now on an H1B, L1, J1, O1 visa, or any of their dependents. This section 212F that is the basis for the president's executive orders primarily enables him to exclude people who are currently outside the US from coming into the US. And the rationale that's been that the administration itself has given for a possible ban, further expanded ban like this, is to protect US workers due to the unemployment problem that is resulted from COVID. The rationale is that there shouldn't be people coming in on work visas or newly coming into the US when the unemployment figures among Americans is so high right now. So, so it's debatable, of course, whether that is a valid reason or a good reason for issuing an executive order like that. But whether he can do it, most likely yes. Right now, like we said, that isn't in effect right now for non-immigrant visa holders, but it's possible. And from what the administration has been saying, it does seem like they are moving towards something like that. We don't know when that kind of order would be signed. It could be another sort of, our only warning may be another late night tweet before we, get the actual text of the order a few days later. We'll have to see what the specifics are on that. But for the most part, it will only affect people who are currently outside the US. It'll remain to be seen whether it affects people who currently hold a valid visa stamp who are outside the US. There were a lot of exceptions carved out in the executive order that was signed in April. People with existing visas were not affected. So we'll have to see. But our advice right now for people who are currently outside the US, who have a valid non-immigrant visa, who are planning to come back to the US eventually, is that, if health and safety allows, it is probably a good idea to try to re-enter the US earlier rather than later, before an executive order goes into effect that may prevent you from coming in.
Rebecca, why don't you, what about the consulates though? They're all closed. Do you have any information when the consulates will be open, when the appointment is going to be conducted, or how is it going to happen?
Yeah, it seems like right now it's going to be consulate by consulate, depending on the local health conditions in that country and in that area. We have no concrete timeline yet, or no official statements from the State Department, which heads up all the consulates. They haven't given any projected timelines for when consular services will be open to the public again. We have had some of our clients be able to schedule visa appointments in Mexico later in the summer, in July and August. So it looks like some of those are becoming available again. But for the most part, most consulates around the world right now are still closed, not accepting appointments, most visa appointments to the public. They may only be accepting some limited emergency situations. And it seems like the general plan for reopening the consulates, if there is one, is just that it's going to be most likely up to the consular heads, the individual, each consular post themselves, based on on the local health situation. So it could extend for several more months, just depending on the health situation.
What about the application support center, Rebecca? Any information what's going on this biometrics, especially people are trying to change from H1 to H4 and their EAD is stuck with the H4, and a lot of people want to extend their H4 also, their EADs. Anything, they said that on June 4th, they're going to open the application support center for the biometrics. Any indication what's going on?
Right, so that ended up being kind of a misleading statement from USCIS. They had announced in late May that they expected USCIS offices here in the US would reopen starting June 4th. So those include field offices, asylum offices, and application support centers, which is where you go to have your biometrics, your fingerprints taken. As of today, I believe no application support centers are yet open. There's on the USCIS website, you can see which offices are open and which are not, and ASCs so far are not yet open. So it looks like that was June 4th was maybe just reopening for certain emergency situations at some field offices. It also sounds like field offices where the I-485 interviews are conducted are just kind of office by office, depending on their local situation. They're reopening in a limited way, mostly just for emergency situations. So the kind of vast reopening has not happened yet. So what that means for H4, people with a pending H4 and the EAD in most of those situations, they're unfortunately going to have to wait longer to get their rescheduled fingerprint appointment because as of now, the ASCs are still not open. They made some statements before that they may reuse some existing biometrics if you already have those on file, but for most people right now who have a pending H4 application, if you filed it earlier this year, most likely you haven't had your biometrics on record in the past year because this biometrics requirement just came into effect last March. Yeah, so unfortunately, there were already delays for H4 EADs because of the biometrics requirement, even when the biometrics were being done regularly and on schedule. And it looks like those delays are just going to get even longer now that ASCs have been closed and continue to be closed.
Kishore, I want to inform on the other topic that we discussed before we open the questions is that approximately around 4,600 people will be put in deportation proceedings or they will be kicked out of the country. That is expected. These are the people who have used the company called Integra and also AZ Tech. These two companies, Integra Technologies, both of these companies seems to be operating, they operated from 19C, Trolley Square, Wilmington, Delaware. There's an article we published on rnlawgroup.com. I want any of the people who have ever used experience letters to get the H1, to get the OPT or STEM extension. You need to read this article that I published on rnlawgroup.com. These two companies seems to be in the top list of the people who have used the OPT and STEM extension. In fact, Integra Technologies is next only to Amazon. It's way ahead of Intel, Google, and Microsoft. After Microsoft is AZ Tech, A for Apple, Z for Zebra, AZ Tech LLC. Both of them are the same address. Approximately, according to the stats given by the ICE, approximately 4,600 people have used experience letters to get the OPT or STEM extension from these companies. Apparently, they were fake companies. We don't know if they were a sting operation or not. They started receiving visa revocations for the people who are on student visa. We started getting revocations for them. We have had some people who tried to enter into United States in March of 2020 from the Seattle airport. They were being denied entry and they were being deported because they have used the experience letters belonging to these companies. So if any of you guys have ever used experience letters from Integra Technologies LLC or AZ Tech, you need to contact a lawyer immediately. They will be hit with a misrepresentation. Most probably, that means that they will never ever be able to come back into the United States. The waiver application that is available is only if they are married to a US citizen or if they have a parent who is a US citizen. Even if the kid is a US citizen, they can't apply for the waiver application. So that's the information from these two companies. Those 4,600 people will be gone. So all those people who are planning are also attending the day one CPT universities. We have been wanting this way before, especially the Cumberland and Campbellsville University and Harrisburg University. Believe us, guys, when we make these announcements in the recording, they may sue us for giving wrong information, defaming those companies, defaming those universities. So if any of you guys are in, we have on record said about these three universities, Cumberland, Campbellsville, and also Harrisburg University is giving day one CPTs. They may be also in trouble with this administration. So they may also do the same thing with these universities and hit people with a misrepresentation. So if any of you guys are planning to go to day one CPT universities, don't. All day one CPTs are all illegal. There may be some exceptions, but I want you to consult a lawyer before you go. And these exceptions are mostly if you are working in a medical field and you need to be in a research, and especially if that CPT work is conducted inside the university premises, they may be allowed under limited circumstances, but that too, you need to get it cleared from by an immigration lawyer. Kishore, Rebecca, you have anything else before we go to question Q&A?
No, not right now.
Yeah, sure, Rahul. We can start the Q&A.
I got a question from online saying that right now, I got a message. I got a message in the chat group. Is that will the executive order be restricting B1, B2? Most probably not. Now, at this point of time, there's no executive order, but some people are expecting. We're not telling that we are expecting, but some people are expecting this executive order. In that, B1, B2 should not be there. I may be wrong, but should not be. The reason is that the number of people who are on B1 visas, B2 visas, humongous. And if they restrict it, that may restrict a lot of business. Particularly people from China come to visit, and a lot of other countries come and visit the Disney. They come to Las Vegas. That's going to lose a lot of business. So a lot of businesses might oppose it. I'll be very surprised if B1 and B2 is on the list.
I received a question through the chat. Someone has an H1B extension that's been pending since last August, and their 240-day mark has just expired. Their company filed, it looks like, a B2 change of status, and are also working on upgrading the pending H1B application to premium processing, and want to know if the B2 that's filed will have any impact on the H1B. Yeah, definitely. If possible, most likely not, but if I don't think the B2 is necessary in your case. If your H1B extension was filed timely and it's still pending, the 240-day rule says that after 240 days after your I-94 expiration date, you're not able to continue working until your H1B extension is approved. But the 240-day rule won't put you out of status, essentially. You're still in a period of authorized stay while your H1B extension is pending. You just cannot work right now until your H1B extension is approved. So hopefully once that premium upgrade goes through, it'll get approved as soon as possible. I think the B2 isn't really necessary right now, unless your plan was to leave the country and wait for the extension approval outside the country, and you were unable to because of COVID, because the B2 also doesn't give you work authorization. You're already authorized to stay here and wait for the extension approval anyway, based on the pending extension. So I would probably just go ahead and withdraw the B2 and concentrate on getting the H1B approved as soon as possible.
You want to go to live questions, Kishore?
Yeah, sure, Rahul. I am on H1B. I lost my job and my.
You want to, we can read that. We can read the chats though. Do you want live questions where people can ask questions directly?
Oh, okay. Maybe I thought once we complete these questions, then I thought maybe.
It will not be enough. There are 200 people or 180 people. It will not be enough to complete all these things. But it's
Okay.
okay.
If anyone would like to ask a question, please use raise hand option so I can unmute you, and then you can ask a question. Mr. Ramesh, I unmuted you, Ramesh.
Hey, hi. So recently, today we found out on a website that any new H1 applications or renewals are being charged at 20K per application. We just want to know how accurate it is, as we do have a renewal for my wife.
$20,000?
Yeah, that was kind of, we are curious whether that is misinformation or how it is, but we got it from immigration.net, like more like a published information with all the list of rules. So just curious on how accurate it is.
That is not true.
Thank you very much. I mean, we were just kind of very surprised about the price too.
Yeah, that is not true.
Okay. And regarding the H4, right?
Filing fees has not changed. There is some proposals of changing the filing fees, but not to the extent of 20,000. Absolutely not.
Yeah. Okay. And the second thing regarding the H4 EADs that we are looking at, right? So if somebody has, I mean, if my wife has to go on H4 EAD, so the turnaround time is kind of abnormally increased right now because of the offices being still closed, and they'll be opening up, and because of the backlog. Is that correct?
You're right. The timing has increased a lot right now for H4 plus EAD. We're seeing some of them getting approved if the biometrics were been done before. We have noticed some of the cases getting approved, but then, as Rebecca was pointing out, the biometrics only started in March of 2019. So not many cases will fall into that category. So there is long list of delay right now on the H4 EAD, H4 plus EAD.
Okay. Thank you very much. That should be all for this.
Mr. Rohit, you are unmuted. You can ask your question.
Hi, Rahul. I'm working full-time for a manufacturing company. My H1 got picked recently, and I'm in my STEM OPT, which is about to expire this month. My employer has put everybody on a rotation-based furlough, which is 1 week everyone has to take off in a month. They told it is temporary and might be ending by November or December. My question is, how is it going to affect my upcoming H1 starting October 1st? Should I make any changes? What do you suggest?
So you are on F1 visa right now, or you're on H1 visa right now?
I'm on F1 OPT STEM. My H1 got picked, and it's going to, like, the application is in the processing.
Rebecca, correct me if I'm wrong. He's allowed to have a total of 150 days of unemployment period. So he should be fine if he is within that limit of 150 days of total unemployment period. But starting from October 1st, so they cannot do that. Rebecca, correct me.
Yes, that's right. So the unemployment limits are 90 days within the first initial year of OPT and a total of 150 days for people on the STEM extension within that 3 years. So if you haven't approached that 150-day mark yet, most likely this arrangement through the summer should be okay for you as far as you're maintaining F1 and STEM OPT. But yeah, for the H1B, there isn't really any provision for a furlough or a time off or anything like that on the H1B if it's filed as full-time. The only alternative is that if the H1B application has not been filed yet, the employer has the option of filing it as a part-time position. Usually they'll have to designate the number of hours per week that you're working according to that H1B on the form. So they could do that if they kind of have an idea of those hours. I know it's difficult to predict right now even what October will look like. But that would be an option, I would say, if they're sure that they will not be able to employ you full-time by August or by October 1st, I would recommend that they look at that option. Then when they are ready to move you into full-time, they'll have to amend the petition. They'll have to file an amended petition at that time. But at least right now, if they haven't filed the H1B application yet, that's an option.
Actually, yeah, they have filed the application as a
Oh,
full-time.
okay.
I was actually a full-time employee. They said this is a temporary thing because of the markets and all. So what if it happens only for the month of October? Should I do any amendment or anything?
It depends on whether your H1B is approved by then. If it's still pending in October, technically you're still in F1 in OPT. So you could continue on that. If it is approved by October, your H1B goes into effect on October 1st, and the company is required to employ you according to the terms that they listed in the I-129 form.
And will it have any effect on cap gap? I'm about to enter cap gap by end of June.
It should not have any effect on the cap gap. The 150-day rule still applies.
Okay. Okay, cool. Thank you so much, Rebecca.
Sure.
Question from people. One person is that I went to India in mid of March. I'm still waiting for the consulate to get the stamp. If the executive order get passed, what are my options? If the executive order goes according to what some people are predicting, I'm not telling we are predicting it, then there would be a ban for a period of 90 days. That is what we're expecting. Is it 90 days or 120 days, Rebecca, that you're expecting a period of ban?
I would predict 90 days. The president's authority under 212F, it has to be for a specific identifiable reason, and that's it's usually limited.
So, yeah, so 90 days is what we're expecting the restriction will be. So they cannot enter into United States for the period of 90 days.
Hi, I'm Shrikant here. Can I ask my question?
Yeah, sure.
Hi, thanks, Kishore. Is this rule something that's coming up? Is there anything about H4 EAD rulemaking that might change? I saw some WhatsApp forwards talking about it, so I was a little concerned about it.
Rebecca, you want?
Yeah, it's hard to say whether there would be anything in the executive order regarding the H4 EAD. I mean, we've known that the administration has wanted to eliminate it since, early on in the term. And we've been expecting the proposed rule that eliminates the H4 EAD for quite a while now. It's like a couple years now almost. So it's not, if something does come out about the H4 EAD elimination through the regulatory process, that won't necessarily be, that shouldn't be a surprise. That's been in the works for quite a while now, and it's been expected for a while. If it does get published, like we've said also for a while, it wouldn't go into effect right away, most likely. If it's through the rulemaking process, there is a certain timeline, a certain number of months of notice and comment where they have to receive public comments before something get published. We think it's unlikely that the H4 EAD would try to be eliminated through an executive order that's just signed by the president, because the elimination is already in the works.
Next question by Mr. Ranveer. Ranveer, you are unmuted.
Hi, thank you, Kishore. So, hi, Rahul. My question is, I recently filed a H1 transfer and it got approved. And my wife, she's an H4 and she has an EAD. And the H4 EAD is in process and we are waiting for approval. So my main question is, she has an LLC. She is a partner in an LLC with a US citizen. And her H4 EAD expires end of this month. So what are the consequences? If her EAD expires, can she stay on board as a partner on the company, or does she have to do
She should
anything?
sell the shares to somebody else, though. That would be a better option. We normally don't recommend people to be LLC, though, because it's a partnership treated as a company. Incorporation would have been much better option. Depending on if she has any, does she has any duties in that company? What does the company do?
It's a retail business.
But she works for the company?
No, she doesn't. She's just a partner.
Yeah, I would recommend to change the shares of the company. That will be much better because it's a LLC. It's a partnership treated as a company. We don't recommend to own the shares. We normally don't recommend people to own the shares of a small company. But for if somebody wants to trade in the stock market, that's fine. But for smaller sharing company, we don't recommend, especially when this period when they don't get the H4 extension, that may come into trouble at a later date.
Okay. So does she have to dissolve her shares right now, or
Yeah,
or as an H1 holder?
She can sell the shares to somebody else. That would be better
Okay.
option.
Okay.
Rebecca, this question comes from Deepika. If the executive order goes into effect, will there be any effect if she has filed from F1 to H1, change of status in this lottery? Will it have any problem for her?
No, we don't expect any executive orders would affect applications that are filed with USCIS. So we expect that applications filed in the lottery for people who are selected in the lottery can still be filed with USCIS and should still be processed by USCIS. H1B extensions, transfers, amendments, H4 extensions can all still be filed with USCIS, even if an executive order is signed, most likely, because the executive order, for the most part, like we said, will affect people who are outside the US trying to come in.
Question from Priscilla is that her OPT STEM extension is still in progress and H1B is picked. Will both of those things cause any problems because both have been filed? No, Priscilla, absolutely not. You can have both the things going smoothly. One is not conflicting with the other thing, you're fine. And with regards to the executive order will have anything to do? No, we are not expecting any problems for people like you to be troubled with the executive order, at least the one that we are thinking about. Some people are expecting, I wouldn't say that we are. You're not expected to be in any trouble. It's only the people who are stuck outside the country who want to come into United States right now is where we are expecting some trouble. And that too, we're not expecting that for B2 visas. Mostly we are expecting for H1Bs and to an extent L visas also. We don't know if it's going to be applicable for F visas. I'll be very surprised it will be applicable for F visas. But for you, you're in the country, you should not have any problem whatsoever at all.
Hi, Kishore Garu, I'm unmuted. Can I ask my question now?
Sure, Kalyan, please go ahead.
Thank you, Kishore and Rahul and Rebecca, for taking my question. My question is like, would it ban H4 people on H4 visa to enter into United States if that executive order comes into an effect?
There is a chance for it. What do you say, Rebecca?
Yeah, possibly. I would say the president has the authority to do so under that same 212F. He could ban H4 individuals outside the US as just the same way that H1s can be banned. I would say there may be more likelihood that if an H4 visa holder is trying to enter the country to join their H1B family member who's here in the US already, that might be allowed, but most likely H4 visa applications at the consulate wouldn't be allowed. It's hard to say though, we'll see. There were some exceptions carved out for family members in the previous executive order, so we'll have to see. I would say it's possible, yeah, that dependents of H1s, L1s could also be affected.
Okay, thank you. Thank you guys for answering my question.
Next question, Mr. Vineet, you are unmuted.
Oh, yeah. So I had the same question. I'm working here on H1, and my wife has a valid and stuck in India. So how does it impact?
Yeah, we won't know if until and if the executive order actually is issued. To be on the safe side, though, if I were her, I would try to enter the U.S. Sooner rather than later. I know it's difficult because of international flight availability and health concerns. Definitely, you'll have to consult someone better suited to handle that, a physician or someone on the safety. But for immigration purposes, it would probably be better to enter the US on the valid H4 visa sooner rather than later, because as we've seen, the executive order can be issued suddenly with little notice and go into effect pretty fast.
Rebecca, the question comes from Sam is he wants to join CPT because he thinks there is no other alternative option. What other alternative options do you suggest other than CPT? Day one CPT.
Right. Yeah, we get this question a lot around this time of year for people who were not selected in the lottery, unfortunately. Really, almost anything besides day one CPT is our recommendation, because the effects of day one CPT we've seen can affect people for years after they've already switched over to H1B status, have been employed for 4 or 5 years, sometimes in H1B status, and on what they think is a routine visa renewal at the consulate, they're denied because they have had F1 CPT, day one CPTs at some point in their employment history. So, we know it's difficult, but, even, so the options are basically, if you have the option of switching to H4 or another dependent type visa, that is probably the first choice. Going back to school and re-enrolling in a program that would allow you to continue F1 if you are just studying and not working. The other option is to possibly depart the US. We know it's difficult, but it will at least preserve your situation enough that if and when the employment situation becomes more favorable and a lottery selection is possible, it'll allow you to come back to the US, in a clean way, sort of, for lack of a better term. Day one CPT can really mar your immigration history in a way that is difficult to remedy later.
Thanks, Rebecca. Next question is from Sanjog Kulkarni. Sanjog. Yeah.
Hello, panel. Thank you for the opportunity. I had a question. I'm currently on F1 STEM OPT, and my employer is filing a cap exempt H1B through premium processing on June 15. And I just wanted to know, will this executive order affect me? And my wife also is on F2 and she's changing to H4. And now the biometric is not open. F2 also has to do some kind of a biometric for a change of status to H4. That's what I had heard. So I just wanted a little clarity on that. Thank you.
Right. We don't expect any potential executive orders to affect an application like yours. So we don't, like we said, we don't expect the executive order to affect change of status applications within the US if you are here in the US. So our main advice for people in that situation is just don't leave the US, even, besides the health issue.
Not only we don't expect, we don't think that the Trump has the authority to issue an executive orders that will affect you. So it's not just, we're not expecting the executive order, but we don't think so he has an authority also to pass an executive order that can limit the things what you're speaking about.
Thank you. And about the biometric, currently the F2 to H4, they need some kind of biometric and all the offices are closed. So will that get affected, or will...
It will get affected. It may delay the H4 approval for your wife, but she can still stay in United States. It's not prohibiting her to stay in United States. She can stay in United States and,
Okay.
and your H1B can be approved in premium processing, but her H4 may not be approved for a long period of time.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Next question is Ravi. You are unmuted.
Sure. Thanks, Kishore, Rahul, and Rebecca for your time and help. My question is, my wife's H4 and EAD is expiring on 20th June. So we applied for expedited process with USCIS, which they approved like last month 5th. And after that, we even contacted the local congressman. They too forwarded it. And as in when this was happening, we keep calling the USCIS customer service. Recently, like today also, they said it should have been approved by now. And they keep saying that it has been assigned to some attorney at USCIS, but we don't see anything updated. Is there any other way that we can get this out, or like?
So it's already approved, but you didn't receive the approval.
No, the expedited request was approved a month back, saying that they will process it based on the documents we submitted.
Yeah, there is nothing we can do about it. We used to have a court litigation where we used to get these things adjudicated. Now that is stalled because we're waiting for the court judgment right now. There is nothing that we could do right now for you. There is nothing anybody can do for you.
I mean, we even submitted the application to Ombudsman. Like,
yeah, there are approximately 300,000 people who are trying to do the same thing what you're trying to do. 200 to 300,000 people. And you're one of them.
So there's nothing else.
Yeah, we have to wait for the court judgment. Once the court judgment comes in, then it is going to be a big victory for you guys, where you can get the things expedited and things can be moved fast. Unless the court gives a judgment, because according to the law, they're supposed to adjudicate these cases in 30 days, but they're not doing that in 30 days. So that may force them if we get the court judgment, because the excuse that they make is that COVID came in right now. Even before COVID, they were delaying the cases. Why are they taking that long time? The money was fixed by them. They told that the money is sufficient. They told that it takes only 15 to 18 minutes to adjudicate the H4, and it will take about 15 to 18 minutes for adjudicating the H4 EAD. Of course, there's administrative timing. So now, if that's the case, why are they taking more than 30 days? So the court is about to rule on it. If the court judgment comes in our favor, you'll be in good position. But otherwise, all these people, every delay will keep on causing. There is nothing we can do about it.
We called even today. They said it should have been approved by now. That's what they're saying.
Well, as I said, that's a general statement to make.
Sure. Thanks, Rob.
Yeah. The next question is by Mr. Vinod. You are unmuted.
Yeah, thank you, Kishore. My question is like, I'm in 60-day grace period right now. I lost my job. So I just wanted to understand the implications, like if I could not travel back due to these travel restrictions. So that's my question.
Yeah, so during the 60-day grace period, obviously the ideal situation is if you're able to find another employer to file an H1B transfer for you, or you can also have another change of status application filed for you within the 60 days, like to H4 or some other visa status if you're eligible for one of those. If those are not possible and if your plan in that situation anyway would have been to depart, but you are unable to because of the international travel restrictions, what we've been advising people to do in that situation is to file a B2 change of status application. So file the I-539 application requesting a change of status from H1B to B2. It can be filed online and the fee can be paid online. However, the disadvantage with that is that the B2, in any other year, it really wouldn't be an option. It's really only sort of a last resort right now for people who would normally depart the US, but just cannot because of the health situation. So maybe leave that until kind of towards the end of your 60-day period before you resort to filing that. And the other main disadvantage of that is that it's it's not really going to be possible to change back from B2 back to H1B status. That doesn't really happen. You can't change from a visitor back to H1B. So you should expect that you will need to depart the US when the situation allows you to. And then if it becomes possible to get another employment offer on H1B, that company will need to file for you and you'll need to go through the consulate in order to come back on H1B.
Rebecca, follow-up question though. What if the H1B extension got denied and the I-94 expired? In that situation, right now, there's no flights going back to most of the countries. In that situation, what do you advise?
Yeah, we would also recommend filing a B2 in that situation. Obviously, it's better if it was filed before the I-94 expires. In this situation, if the I-94 is already passed, filing it late is better than not filing it at all. You would include a nunc-pro-tunc argument in that situation, which is basically asking USCIS to excuse the late filing due to the extraordinary circumstances of you're basically filing it because you're not able to depart, and that's why it's late. For that, it may be, yeah, you can also file it online, I think, in that situation, although if you submit it in paper, you may be able to include that nunc-pro-tunc argument.
One small thing I would request is that when the expiration date is before the current date, though, I think so this computer system is not allowing them to file the extension online.
Oh, okay, yeah. So
They
they'll
may
probably
have
have to
for the
file the
people whose
paper.
I-94 expired, they may have to file manually, though.
Okay. Next question by Mr. AC. You are unmuted.
Hi. Thank you for having this session. I have a question about the extension of B2 visa for my parents who arrived 6 months back and their I-94 is expiring within a week. I applied for their B2 extension with I-539 and I-539A, but we haven't received any letter from USCIS for biometrics. And their flights are rescheduled for next month. So my question is, if for some reason India opens the international flights and they can return back to the country, and we receive the biometric appointment letter after they return back to the country, will their stay be considered as illegal from the point of I-94 expiry to the point to the date of their return?
No. So even, I mean, the biometrics, like we've said, can't be done right now because just the offices are closed. As long as you have the I-539 receipt notice that shows that the I-539 application was filed before their I-94 expired, that will be enough to show that they've been in a period of authorized stay since their I-94 expired, that they filed something timely. And then even if the biometrics aren't done before they leave, or the I-539 definitely is not going to get processed before they leave, but they can go ahead and depart when the situation allows them to, and just have the I-539 receipt notice that shows that they filed something on time.
Okay, so as long as 539 was filed, and current waiting times are more than 6 months for I-539, so most probably we won't receive the approval anyway. So their stay won't be illegal in that case.
No,
right. They're considered in a period of authorized stay.
Yeah, and then make sure that your parents keep the receipt notice when they come into United States, when they're coming next time, though. Make sure that they have a receipt notice, just in case if they doubt, hey, your I-94 expired, how come you stayed more than 2 months after, 3 months after your I-94 expired? They can keep the receipt notice and show them, look, I filed the extension in a timely manner. Here is a receipt notice. They should be fine.
Okay, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Thank you very much.
There are a lot of questions coming on these 4,600 people of the Integra Solutions and AZ Tech on the chat, though, Kishore. One of the person is that, and what time period people have worked for Integra Solutions or Aztec Solutions are getting the notice of intent to revoke. I don't have enough data to provide that only for those people who work at a particular time are getting. I don't have enough data. Another question that came from Sam is from the chat was that hey, when I worked for, or when the person worked for the AZ Tech, it was when the employment period for AZ Tech, it was an e-verified company. How come now you're telling it's a fake company? Here's the answer to Sam is that e-verify doesn't mean anything. The question is that you or any of your friend who provided that you are working for Easy Tech, AZ Tech. Now you never worked for that company. That is misrepresentation. Whether the company is an e-verified company, whether the company is physically there or not is irrelevant right now. The relevant thing is that you provided the letter to the immigration or to the service system saying that you have been employed by that company, while that company did not employ you or train you. That is misrepresentation there. Good, Kishore.
Yeah. Next question. I see that currently I'm on STEM OPT, working as a full-time employee to metadata company. My H1B got selected in lottery and employer submitted the documents. Now they are planning to roll off my position. So what are the options I have?
Well, he has to hope the H1B gets approved without RFE and that they don't withdraw it before October 1st. That's one hope. But those are, looks to be that most unlikely. The company may have, actually should be, the company should be withdrawing the H1B technically because he's no longer employed with the company. They should withdraw it. But if they don't, they keep it, then he's lucky enough, and then on October 1st, he can apply for a change of status from one employer to another employer.
Yeah. Next one is Mr. SB iPhone. You are unmuted.
Hi, thank you all so much for this session and taking my question. My question is that my H1B visa was approved in October of 2019. I haven't really traveled since then. I was planning on traveling to India in December as a visit and to get my stamping done. Do you recommend I hold off until later next year? Is there any indication of the consulates opening up, or do you see any danger in traveling?
I would recommend not to travel for many reasons. One is COVID. Second thing is the unemployment rate, how the consulates are going to react. Of course, the presidential executive order threat, we are telling people who are outside the country to come in the country. How can we suggest or even entertain an idea that you want to go outside the country? You may get stuck there. So that's a no, no, no. 3 no's.
Okay, got it. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Mr. PR, you are unmuted.
Thanks, Kishore. My name is Preetham. Thanks, Rahul and Rebecca, for all the information. So I have my H1B, and which is going to expire in the month of October, and my spouse's H4 is also going to expire at the same time. So we have filed for my H1B extension and H4 extension, but if the extension doesn't come through, will my wife have to stop working, or can she continue to work based on the notice which we have that the extension is filed?
Yeah, so she will have to stop working if she doesn't have the new EAD card by the time her current EAD card expires. Unfortunately, the pending I-765 does not give her work authorization when it's based on an H4.
Okay. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. So there are a few questions, Rahul, asking like their kids are in India who are like 1 year, 2 years old. Will this executive order also impact the kids entering into this country?
Most probably the kids are US citizens, right?
Yeah.
The executive order is not expected to have any restriction on the US citizens.
Okay, cool. Mr. Ameg, you are unmuted.
Yeah, thank you all. I have a quick question. Like, I'm on H1B. It's getting expired in the month of November. I already started extension process for the H1 and H4 and H4 EAD. My wife is not working because of some health issue. But the question is, if my H1 got approved, and since the biometrics and all this process, because of that, H4 extension or H4 EAD got delayed. So does she need to go back to India?
No.
In that case?
No. She
No,
can stay.
okay.
If the extension is pending, she can stay here. Transfer or extension is pending, she can stay here.
Okay. Thank you.
Next question from chat window. Will it be still possible? Okay, this Prasad, and my H1 extension got denied in February, and I traveled back to India, and my employer filed a sua sponte application to reconsider. I have a couple of questions. Is there any chance of approval? And is there a possibility to apply a new H1B?
What is that sua sponte? Did you ever heard of that? So most probably it's a motion to reconsider is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, it's more used in litigation, I believe. Yeah, most likely it's a motion to reconsider.
Yeah, it looks to be that it's so it's not that the company has filed it; it's the USCIS has done it by themselves. Yeah, there is a. Yeah, you're right, Rebecca. That's through litigation, I guess, right?
Usually, yeah. I mean, if USCIS reopened it themselves, I think that would be sua sponte. But I think the question is saying that the employer filed to reconsider. Sorry, I'm looking for the question, but
Those are two contradictory things. If the employer has filed a motion to reconsider, though, the probabilities are about 15 to 25%. But if the USCIS opened it by themselves, I would give a rating of about 80 to 90% approval ratings. A question that came in, Kishore, is that my kids are in India. Can they travel with my parents for B1, B2 if the executive order comes in? Our expectation is that the executive order shouldn't be limiting the B1, B2 people, and definitely not US citizens at all. So yes, they can travel with their parents.
Yeah. Mr. Mayank, you are unmuted.
Hi, Rahul. Thanks for taking all this. So my question is, I have approved H1, but my H4 for my dependents has not come up. And I wanted to know their I-94 is expiring in August. So till how long they can stay with an expired I-94 as long as the...
Your H1B expiring?
My H1B is approved, but H4 for the dependents is not approved.
When it is expiring?
It is expiring in March 2021.
It is expiring in March 21. She can stay in this country until March 2021. But if she files one more extension along with your H1B, she can continue staying even after that period too.
Okay, so there is no 240-day or some cap?
No 240-day rule for the H4. Absolutely none.
Okay. Thank you, Rahul.
Yeah. I know, Rahul, there are 100 plus questions, and still there are a lot more members who want to ask questions, but it's already...
Let's go for, if you're okay, we can go for 10-15 minutes, I guess.
Yeah, sure. One of the question is, I recently got my I-140 and planning to apply for my spouse EAD for the first time, but she is planning to do job after 1 year. And I have next extension in coming March. So once, if we get EAD, do we need to renew EAD every H1 extension time, even though my spouse is not doing a job?
No, you're not under obligation to work if you have a H4 EAD. You're not under obligation to work. The second thing is that, are you absolutely required to file a EAD extension every time you file H4? No, it's not required. It's your option.
Okay. H1B extensions, even for premium processing, are taking 3 months. Is there any way we can expedite these with USCIS?
Rebecca?
Even for premium processing, we're taking...
You remember some of those cases that got stuck there?
Oh, yes. Yeah. So premium processing, when you submit the additional fee, USCIS is supposed to take action on the case within 15 days. Or if they cannot, which is rare, they're supposed to refund the additional $1,440. Yeah, in the past couple months, there have been a handful or several cases where the case wasn't moved on within 15 days, but the fee also hasn't been returned from what we understand. Unfortunately for those, there isn't much we can do right now. I think we are aware of the reason, or we have an idea of the reason why USCIS hasn't moved on those cases yet. And unfortunately, there isn't really anything that can be done to force USCIS to adjudicate those cases. At most, we can just try to force them to refund the $1,400.
The refund normally takes between 6 months to 1 year. The refund will be granted though, but but there may not be any way to expedite it.
Next question, I am on H1B with I-140 approved. H1B is valid till September 2022. My employer is asking me to come back to India after I go back to India. If I resign from current employer, will my I-140 still valid?
When was I-140 approved though? If the I-140 has been approved for more than 6 months, it doesn't matter whether he is in India, whether he is here, it doesn't matter. That belongs to him practically though. There are some exceptions that are there, but practically that belongs to him. He can come back with a different company on a H1B, and he can port the date at any point of time to a different company. Absolutely he can.
Okay, Nagendra Hariprasad, you are unmuted. Do you have a question?
Yeah, thank you, Kishore. Hey, my name is Nag. So I have a valid H1B visa. So I'm planning to travel to Middle East in the second week of July. So what do you guys recommend?
No. You're an H1 visa, right?
Yes.
We would recommend not to. Because we're recommending people from outside the country to immediately come inside the country. Of course, as far as the medical things, Rebecca has said very clearly, don't go by our advice on the medical things. Not Rebecca's, not mine, not any of the immigration lawyers either. But as far as the immigration is concerned, we're recommending the people to come from outside to in here, and you're trying to go out. How are you going to come back? So we don't like that idea.
Regardless of business visit or any visit, it doesn't matter.
I mean, that's up to you to judge.
Okay, I'm just
what's more important for you. Is it this, the chance that, or is it the business that you're going to lose? Of course, it's your judgment call. I mean, there's nothing forcing it, nothing illegal that you're doing by leaving the country. It's a chance that you'll be taking. And then you have to evaluate in your personal situation, is that business important, or the risk of this executive order is more important? You have to judge that.
Sure, thank you.
But nothing illegal. Absolutely, you're not illegal to go outside the country. Absolutely not illegal.
Next question, Mr. Ajay Sahu, you are unmuted.
One question, like my wife's she's having H1 and it's expiring on this September, and we already applied change of status. So my question, like, if we are not getting the approval by that time, so is she still be able to work? I mean, I saw in the website like
H4 EAD is expiring in September, is right?
Her H1, she's on H1 right now.
Oh, okay. You are applying H1B extension.
No, sorry. Let me clarify. I am on H1B, and she is right now also on H1B, but her H1 is expiring on September 2020. So and also like cap count is over, like H1 6 years. So we are applying. We already applied change of status.
So for you applied for change of status to H4 or EAD?
Correct. H4 and H4 EAD. Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, if we are not getting by September, which is the date of expiry of I-94, so is she still be able to work? I mean, no?
No, she cannot, because there is no legal authorization. The application that you filed is H4, change of status, right?
H4 plus H4 EAD.
Yeah, but still H4 EAD has not been granted. She cannot continue working.
I saw some, on a USCIS website, like they will continue. I'll send you an email with that link if you
No,
can.
there is none that exists on the USCIS. There was petitions made by individuals like you and us and everybody saying that they should automatically extend it. That was a request that was been requested to the USCIS. That's not the USCIS thing. Yes, you can post it in the chat for us to look into it if you want to. Okay,
Yeah,
we'll
I'll
comment
send
on
an
that.
email. Yeah. Thank you.
We'll take one last question. Mr. Rajesh, you are unmuted.
Hey, thanks for conducting this nice session. So right now I'm on H1 visa and my wife is in H4, and I do have a daughter. She's a US citizen, and I'm stuck in India. And I got a ticket to come back to US on 26th of June, but I hear like there might be a travel ban soon. But if it will be official, how long it will be, and that's my question, how long it will be. So because in my company they mentioned that by October, if I can't join, then the job will be terminated.
Rebecca?
Yeah, we're expecting that if there is an executive order limiting non-immigrant visa holders from coming into the US, that in the initial order, at least, it will be for a limited amount of time, maybe 60 to 90 days. However, it's always possible for that to be renewed or extended at the end of that initial term. It's hard to predict. I think it'll depend on, since the ostensible basis is the American unemployment rate, it will probably depend on how the unemployment numbers are at the end of that initial term, whether it warrants another renewal of the executive order. Hopefully it won't be past October, and that hopefully you'll be able there, if there is an order, it won't be issued until after you've been able to come into the US. That would be a situation, but if that happens, hopefully it won't extend beyond October.
Okay, so one more last question. So if it will be official, so how means when it will start, it's affecting?
It depends on the effective date written in the order, but from the one that was signed in April, it was effective basically the next day, I believe. Same with the F1 Chinese student executive order that was signed a couple weeks ago. That also went into effect almost immediately within a day or a few days.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Rahul and Rebecca, once again. Yeah, I posted the group link where you can see like daily sessions from Rahul, Emily, and team. You can join there where you can see like the daily sessions. You can ask your questions in the daily sessions, and also whenever there is some major change, we'll be doing these conferences so that all our members can be up to date on what is happening in the immigration area. So thanks everyone, take care, and yeah, thanks Rahul, Rebecca, once again.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you all. Bye everyone.